Have you ever had someone pry into your life uninvited? Why do some people just have to stick their noses where they don't belong? Get ready for some surprising stories.
Simple, simple, simple minds. I guess we'll take it one by one, baby, one by one. Just different, different, different kinds. We'll try to take it one by one, baby, one by one.
Today, I'm going to be talking about something that really gets under my skin. It's about the nosy people. You know the type. They just love to meddle in other people's businesses and lives. Even if you haven't shared anything with them, they still want to know everything what's going on. It's like they can't help themselves. They just have to stick their noses into everyone else's businesses. I'm sure we all have one nosy people in our lives. It might be a friend, a coworker, or even a family member. Whoever it is, they're always trying to get the scoop on what's going behind your lives. They'll ask you personal questions, pry into your relationships, and worse, gossip about you behind your back. It's enough to drive anyone crazy. I've been dealing with nosy people my whole life, and I've learned a few things on how to deal with them. First of all, it's important to set boundaries. Let them know that you're not comfortable in sharing certain information with them. Well, if they continue to pry, be assertive and tell them to back off. You can also try to redirect the conversation. If they ask you a personal question, turn it around and ask them something about themselves. Or you can talk and open about a topic that is being trending or talked globally. You can also use humor to deflect nosy questions. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, you can always talk to someone you trust about what's going on. Remember, you are not alone. We all have to deal with nosy people from time to time. Finally, don't be afraid to walk away. If they are not respecting your boundaries, you don't have to put with it, right? It is also important to be respectful when dealing with nosy people. Even if they are being annoying, try to be more patient and understanding. It is also important to remember and to know that not all nosy people are bad people. Some people are just curious and want to know what's going on with your life. However, it is also important to set boundaries and protect your privacy. If you don't want to share something with someone, don't feel pressured to do so. I'm going to read you two short stories that I think you will find relatable. They're about those awkward moments when people overstep their boundaries. I actually wrote them down so I could share them with you. Story 1. The characters are named Michael and David. So Michael is the main character and David is the acquaintance who called him. So here is the story. Michael's phone rang, displaying an unfamiliar number. It was David, an old acquaintance he had not seen in years. After catching up briefly, David began asking for career advice. Michael, always willing to help, offered his insights. As the conversation wound down, David suddenly remarked, "Oh, and you never told me you got the dog." Michael, taken aback by the random comment, simply replied with a polite, "Okay," before ending the call. But the comment stuck with him. While it wasn't a big deal, Michael couldn't shake the feeling that it was none of David's business. It felt like an intrusion for him, a reminder that even casual acquaintances sometimes overstepped boundaries. So, for my personal opinion, This got me thinking about boundaries and how even casual conversations can sometimes veer into personal territory. It's a good reminder that we all have the right to privacy, and it's okay to politely deflect questions or comments that we're not comfortable with. I mean, you have the right to do that. The title of story 2 is called The Helpful Neighbor. So there are still two characters in story 2. The first character is Sarah. She is the main character. And the second character is her neighbor named Mrs. Peterson. So I will start reading it now. Sarah had just moved into her new apartment and was excited to decorate. She spent the weekend carefully arranging furniture and hanging pictures. On Monday morning, as she was rushing out to the door for work, she bumped into her neighbor, Mrs. Peterson, in the hallway. "Oh, Sarah!" Mrs. Peterson exclaimed, peering into Sarah's open apartment door. "I see you've been busy. That sofa looks awfully big for such a small space. And those curtains? Honey, they clash with your walls." Sarah, already running late, mumbled a quick thanks and hurried out the door. But Mrs. Peterson's unsolicited decorating advice lingered in her mind all day, even while she's working. She loved her new apartment and had to put a lot of thought about making it her own style. Why did Mrs. Peterson feel the need to comment on her choices? Later that week, Sarah was then unpacking boxes in her living room when she heard a knock at the door. And when she opened it, it was Mrs. Peterson again. This time, she is holding a potted plant. "I thought this might brighten up your living room," Mrs. Peterson said, pushing past Sarah and placing the plant on the coffee table, which means Mrs. Peterson went inside the apartment even without Sarah's invitation. Then Mrs. Peterson continued, "And you really should consider getting a rug. It would tie the room together." Sarah, trying to be polite, thanked Mrs. Peterson for the plant, but couldn't help but feel frustrated. Why couldn't just her neighbor just mind her own business? Sarah was thinking that way. Both stories illustrate the common experience of dealing with nosy people who overstep boundaries. In the first story, it was a casual acquaintance making an intrusive comment about a pet. In the second story, it's a neighbor who offered unsolicited advice about decorating choices. Both situations highlight the importance of setting boundaries and politely but firmly asserting your right to privacy and personal preferences. I hope this video has been helpful. If you're dealing with a nosy person, I encourage you to set boundaries and stand up for yourself. Remember, you have the right to privacy. Don't let anyone take that away from you. What are your thoughts on this? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.
You say you don't wanna get in trouble, that you're doing fine cause you got me. I don't wanna break your little bubble, but you got